Dr. Martinez to the maternity ward. The PA cracked overhead while I sat in that too-white waiting room with my hands on my 7-month belly, breathing through the antiseptic air and the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own heart. And then, yeah, that happened. My husband slapped me. Right there in the corridor where the floors shine like ice and the nurses move like a river. One sharp crack that froze everyone mid-step and made the whole place hum with this awful, guilty silence. I touched my cheek and looked at him. Nathan Cole, the man who taught me to second-guess my own reflection, standing in a $1,500 suit smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, and he tried to lower his voice into that management tone. You know the one. You're being hysterical, Elena, but the red print on my face said otherwise. The nurses said otherwise. My daughter, kicking like a drumline under my hand, said otherwise. Sir, step back, Dr. Aisha Patel told him, calm as a metronome. Mrs. Brooks, we're going to your room now. And I went, not because he said so, but because this doctor with kind, tired eyes pointed my feet in the only safe direction, my blood pressure already angry on the monitor, my breath shallow like I was inhaling through a coffee stirrer, and right there, while they checked the baby and hushed the lights, I felt something click, like a lock I'd been spinning for years finally lined up to the right numbers. Let me back up a sec. 15 years with Nathan, and he never crossed that line with his hands. He preferred scalpel work. Little cuts you can't show to a friend. I'm oversensitive. I don't understand business. We're tight this month while he wears a watch that costs more than a small car. Missed appointments, mysterious trips, and me apologizing for noticing, you know what I mean, until the hallway slap made it unmissable even for me. That was Act 1, the hit and the hush. The part in every movie where the audience leans forward because it's about to turn, and it did, thanks to a man most people never see, a hospital security guard named Luis Alvarez, who'd worked holiday parties at my dad's company and remembered how Charles Brooks shakes your hand like he means it. Luis watched Nathan puff his chest in a maternity corridor and decided enough. Pulled an old business card from his wallet and dialed the number on it. Mr. Brooks, sir, your daughter needs you. While I stared at the ceiling and Dr. Patel kept repeating breathe, slow and even. My phone buzzed, and when I saw Dad on the screen I started crying in that embarrassing hiccup way you can't control. Sweetheart, are you safe? He asked, and I said yes. And he said, good. A car is coming. You're staying with me. And for the first time in years I felt a piece of ground under my feet that didn't move when he moved. Nathan arrived with white roses and corporate contrition, the kind that tastes like sawdust. Stress, business, you know I'd never. But the mask had a crack now, and I'd finally found the seam. I told them the truth. I said, I asked where you were. You hit me. He set the roses down like a prop and gave me that look that worked in boardrooms and in our kitchen. The look that says we'll handle this later. And I said, later is over. Soft but solid. The way a door sounds when it shuts right. Here's where Act 2, the pushback, really begins. My dad called Erin Wallace, his head of legal, a woman who reads contracts the way a surgeon reads scans. And he called Daniel Keene, a private investigator with ex-FBI posture and an allergy to drama, and told them both, I want daylight on everything, by evening. Erin stacked files on my father's desk like bricks, and daylight poured through. Loans Nathan took against future contracts with my father's company, undisclosed accounts. Elena, this is $2. $7 million he kept off the map. Erin said, each number a rung on a ladder I hadn't known I could climb. Daniel called in at 4:30 with the calm of a firehouse radio. We have offshore accounts. A condo in Miami under a relative's name. And one more thing. Maya Rivera, 26, on Nathan's payroll as marketing. He's paying her rent. I sat very still, hands on my belly like I could shield my daughter from photographs on a conference table. Maya at dinner laughing over champagne while I counted kicks alone. And even then, here comes the twist I didn't expect. Maya agreed to talk. It turns out Nathan told her we were separated, told her I was unstable, told her he was the good guy in a hard marriage. And when she saw the hospital story, she called Daniel. I didn't sign up to hurt a pregnant woman. Erin moved like weather. Account freezes filed before lunch the next day. Joint funds locked. Subpoenas drafted. Every Hartford subsidiary, construction, properties, consulting, Serve noticed that any contract with Nathan's company was terminated under a moral turpitude clause. 30 days by the letter, Aaron said. But the loans he collateralized with our business evaporate today, and somewhere downtown. Nathan's phone started ringing in that special way phones do when your past overtakes your calendar. He tried to get cute, of course, sent a dozen messages, then 20. Then showed up at my dad's place looking less polished and more human than I'd seen him in years. The concierge rang upstairs. My father looked at me and said, "Your call." And I said, "Send him up." Because fear only grows in the dark, Nathan walked in and began the speech. History, baby, our life. You can't do this. But there was a stack of 8x10s on the coffee table and an old man who'd built an empire without spilling his coffee. You did this, my dad said. Not loud, not cruel. Just true. And Nathan's eyes kept skittering between the photos and my face like a trapped fly looking for a window. I won't pretend I was steel the whole time. My voice shook. I cried. I wanted to crawl back into the version of my marriage where I still believed him. But there's a moment you can't return from. The one after you hear yourself say out loud, "Love doesn't hit." And you realize you mean it. That's the line I drew on the marble with my own hand, and no amount of flowers was going to mop it up. Court came fast, faster than I imagined. Because once Aaron and Daniel opened the doors, the hallway filled with people. Maya on the witness list, 2 women who dated Nathan before me and described the same pattern, love bombing. Passwords taken, accounts consolidated for convenience. Criticism that felt like coaching until it felt like a cage. Dr. Patel testifying about my blood pressure before and after I left, even Luis. Hands clasped, voice steady. I saw him strike her. And then the security video played. No audio, just the motion. And the courtroom air thinned the way it does when a truth finally stands up on its own 2 legs. Nathan's lawyer tried the old tricks, hormones, misunderstandings, vindictive father-in-law. But the judge, Judge Lawson, silver hair, tired eyes that had seen too many families disassemble in front of her, wasn't buying. She wrote for 15 minutes after closing statements while the room held its breath. Then she read for 10. Asset division tilted heavy in my direction with a note about concealed funds and marital fraud, custody to me with conditions for him, support amounts that made Nathan flinch like a fresh slap, and a warning that any failure to comply would be met with handcuffs rather than handshakes. People clapped, which doesn't happen in court unless something inside them needs the sound. I didn't. I just exhaled in a way I hadn't in years, like I'd been living underwater. And when we stepped onto the courthouse steps, cameras, posters, strangers crying for reasons that were and weren't about me. I said one thing into the microphones and went home. Love doesn't hit. 6 syllables that felt like a door swinging open on a whole floor of women who were waiting. Act 3 ends where you expect. Verdict, relief, a name on a foundation charter honoring my mother. A ribbon cut with my daughter on my hip while city horns sing backup. But it also ends in a quieter place a week later, the neonatal ward at night, the lights low. The nurse wheels my daughter in, and I hold her the way you hold a miracle you almost argued yourself out of believing in. Nathan arrives during visiting hours, supervised. Contrite in a way therapy sometimes teaches men to be. He looks at our child like a person who understands time for the first time, and he says, "I never meant." I stop him, not to be cruel, but because intention is a story you tell yourself when you don't want to look at the bruise you made. What matters is what you do now, I say. He nods. And for a heartbeat, I recognize the boy he used to be before he decided control felt safer than love. Then the moment passes, like most mercies do, and the nurse gently asks him to sign out. So that's my story, told in one breath because that's how I lived it. Breath held, and then finally released. And if you're wondering whether I forgave him, whether people like him can change, whether consequences are justice or just math, I'm wondering too. I walk the park at dusk with a stroller and think about how money makes people bold and also small, how women like me learn the shape of their own voices by using them, how some men don't believe in gravity until they meet the ground. I don't have a neat bow for you. What I have is a city full of windows, and one of them is mine. Light on, a baby asleep. A woman at a kitchen table writing checks to other women who are packing boxes in the night. Picture this last frame. If you like movies, the courthouse long emptied, rain starting up, the glow of a deli sign across the street. Me under a cheap black umbrella with my father beside me, his hand warm on my back the way it was when I was 5 and scraped my knees. He nods toward a taxi where Nathan sits alone staring at nothing, and I say, "Let's go home." Not a victory shout, just the kind of line you say when you've reclaimed the map. Whether the judge got it right, whether community should freeze out a man like that, or help him rebuild under supervision. Share your take on right and wrong and what justice should look like when a family breaks. Because stories don't end with verdicts, they end when we decide what we'll tolerate, what we'll protect, and who we'll believe. You know what I mean.